Hey guys, thanks for joining me. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over some reasons why I think the hex bar deadlift is one of the most underrated bits of equipment in the gym. And after this video, if you have a home gym, you're going to want to buy one. If you go to a gym where they've got one, you're going to want to use it. And if you go to a gym where they don't have a hex bar deadlift, you're either going to quit or you're going to talk to the gym owner and tell them to get one. At the end, I'm also going to go over a few potential cons or things that you want to be aware of before you purchase one or use one, just so you have all the information before you start using it. Let's jump straight into the video. So the first major sort of pro towards the hex bar deadlift is it uses a large amount of muscle. The reason being, and this is something that I commonly talk about when it comes to the hex bar deadlift, is kind of a hybrid between the deadlift and the squat. It may not be a complete replacement, but it's one of those exercises, it's right in the middle between the two, and because of that, it uses a large amount of muscles. Many people know that the typical deadlift uses up to 2/3 of the body, uses virtually all of the legs, all of the posterior chain, but virtually everything else, just by theory of irradiation. Lots of muscles are being used because there's tension throughout the whole entire body to be able to lift it. With the hex bar deadlift, it's a similar principle. You're lifting a large amount of weight, and even though the weight is in your hands, it means all of your arms and your back muscles are being used to create tension, to hold it in place, but also a lot of your back muscles are being used to stabilize your spine. You are incorporating a lot of your muscles, and I have seen some videos where people have been talking about the studies compared to a typical deadlift and the hex bar deadlift, and they are very, very similar. If anything, you get more of an activation in your posterior chain through the deadlift, but they have shown that you are able to develop a lot more power and athleticism with hex bar deadlift. So that's something you want to pay attention to. So the overall thing is that the hex bar deadlift allows you to use a large amount of muscle. So if you're looking for an exercise that's going to give you a large bang for your buck, that's going to allow you to hit your whole entire leg, all of your posterior chain. So the second point why this is an underrated exercise and an exercise you should be doing is this is a very, very easy exercise to learn. For any of you that have spent time trying to learn the deadlift or trying to learn the squat, it takes a long time. There's a lot of form and there's a lot of technique that's needed. However, if you are learning to do the trap bar deadlift or the hex bar deadlift, this exercise is very, very easy to learn. So this is fantastic for anyone who is new to the gym, maybe people that have been training but now they're coming back, so unconditioned people, or maybe you haven't spent a long time in the gym and you're looking for an exercise that is easy to learn. The technique for it, the requirement for it is a lot lower. This exercise, very simple to be able to learn the form and to execute it. So at number 3, we have this exercise is easier on your lower back. For any of you that have had injuries in the past or present, maybe the deadlift is something that irritates your back, and whenever you do it, irritates it, so you stop doing it. So you're missing out on one of the best posterior builders, or at least strengthening your lower back. Maybe you're someone that does the squat and for whatever reason, it just aggravates you. Maybe you have poor mobility, maybe you have poor form, whatever the reasons, maybe when you're doing the squat, it just irritates your back. When it comes to the hex bar deadlift, this is one of those exercises that is a lot easier on the back. And that's for a couple of reasons. If you're doing the deadlift, the weight is in front of you, so it's in front of your center of mass. So instantly, it's going to put a stress or a stimulus on your lower back. Again, that is why it's one of the best posterior chain growers, because it's forcing you to have to use your lower back and to strengthen it to be able to lift the weight. This weight is actually, the handles are down by the side of you, so the weight is actually evenly distributed between your front and back. It's over your center of mass, so instantly, there isn't so much of a stress placed instantly on your lower back, but it's placed more evenly across your whole entire body, not in front, forcing the backside of your body to engage more. Unlike, say, the squat, where the weight is actually down compressing on your spine, this is in your hand. So again, it's hanging from you, it's not pushing you down. The other thing with the squat as well is sometimes due to poor mobility or just technique in general, as you're coming down, you could go forward of your center of mass, which again, as soon as that bar path goes in front, that's when it can start placing an extra stress on your spine. With this one, the weight is evenly distributed down the side of you. It's very, very difficult for you to make the weight go forward because your arms naturally, especially if there's weight pulling it down, want to hang down straight in line with gravity. And all you need to do literally is line your body up with the bar. It's over your center of mass. All you've got to do is stand up. If you find it uncomfortable, you can just drop it. So for people that have got lower back issues, have got it now or have had it in the past, or those main exercises for working those muscles, they seem to aggravate you for whatever reason, try incorporating the hex bar deadlift because it definitely is a lot easier on your lower back and is more lower back friendly. So at number 4 is you're able to lift a large amount of weight. So if you're looking to get into strength training, if you're looking to do strongman training, especially because you can use this thing as a farmer's walk, this is going to be a fantastic exercise to be able to add in. If you are already doing deadlifts or already doing squats and you want to add it in an exercise to help sort of be an accessory for them and to allow you to get a little bit more volume in, or a different exercise that's slightly different so it doesn't push you towards overtraining but a different stimulus for the body, this is going to be a fantastic exercise you can add in to incorporate with your deadlift and your squat training. However, if you're someone that doesn't deadlift or doesn't squat, this could be an exercise that could maybe not be as good as a posterior builder as the deadlift, or not as good as a leg builder as the squat, but this could be a fairly good sort of third runner-up, definitely compared to other exercises, that if you don't need to do those exercises or you don't have access to them, this can allow you to build a large amount of muscle and to get very, very strong. So this is why it's a great exercise to add in. The thing is as well, is because the center of mass is over you and you have that neutral grip for your shoulder, so you're in this position and it's down by your side, it puts you in a very good mechanical position, and I think that's why you're able to lift a large amount of weight. And people tend to be able to lift more weight when doing the hex bar deadlift than they can the typical deadlift or even a barbell back squat. So it may not be the best at covering both bases or better than one at the other at their chosen goal. Because you tend to be able to lift a large amount of weight with those exercises, this is going to be a fantastic exercise to basically getting you as strong as you possibly can, or building as much muscle as you possibly can. Definitely something else that's going to add in, if you're already doing them, to take your muscle building or your strength training to the next level. So at number 5 is we have a lower mobility requirement or even flexibility. So people tend to nowadays, because we tend to sit a lot, we're less active, a lot of the time we have tight muscles, we have lower range of motion, our ankles tend to be tight or our hips tend to be tight, which really severely impacts our ability to effectively do squat or lower body training. However, when you come to the hex bar deadlift, the requirements to be able to get into the form and to be able to execute it are far lower than what is required to say to do a safe deadlift or a safe squat. So for some reason, whether it's an injury or just lifestyle related, if you're someone that struggles with the mobility to safely execute the deadlift or the squat, then the hex bar deadlift could be a really great exercise to allow you to still lift heavy, to still do your strength training, to still incorporate a large amount of your body, to have a very, very effective stimulus, especially if you're leg training. Because some people, if they can't do the squat or any of these other exercises, sometimes they turn to machines, and that's something I don't advise unless you really have to. So if you have lower mobility that stops you from doing the deadlift, the squat, or other exercises like that, maybe even lunges, try incorporating the hex bar deadlift so you're still able to get an effective leg workout while having lower mobility. So I'm just going to go over a final thought before I start talking to some of the possible cons that you're going to get with the trap bar deadlift or the hex bar deadlift. Is, like I said, if you do not have access to a deadlift bar or be able to do that exercise, or even a squat, maybe it's because you're training at home, or maybe for some reason your gym doesn't have one, the hex bar deadlift could be a very, very good replacement. If you don't have to do it because you're not a power lifter or you're not a strongman, it's not an exercise that is mandatory, but you're looking for an exercise to be able to get as strong as you possibly can, to build as much muscle as you can. Possibly maybe you don't have the time or the flexibility of doing both of those exercises, and you want to find just an exercise that can kind of cover the bases of both, and you're not after being a world-class athlete, but you just want to be the best that you possibly can. The hex bar deadlift is a very good replacement. I know some people are going to be like, well, no, you can't replace the trap bar with the squat or the deadlift. I'm not saying they are better at leg development than the squat, because it isn't, and it's not as good at building the posterior chain as the deadlift. I know that, and I'm aware of that, but unless you are a powerlifter or a strongman, you don't have to do a deadlift. Unless you're those, you don't have to do a squat. The hex bar deadlift can build a lot of muscle. It can get you very, very strong, and if some studies have said that the hex bar deadlift is very, very comparable to the deadlift, and the deadlift is seen as one of the king of the lift. So unless you have to do those exercises, I feel this is a very, very good exercise that you can use to replace it. The other thing where I think where it really, really does excel is if you do the deadlift and you do the squat, but you're looking for another exercise that's different, because you don't want to do just more volume or more sets, but you want to find an exercise that might actually help build up your deadlift or help build up your squat. Introduce the hex bar into your training. It's going to be that sort of third exercise that's going to allow you to push those further. It's a different stimulus for the body. It's going to allow you to actually lift a larger amount of weight, which could be a good stress on your central nervous system, but it might help you push further in your strength training with those two other exercises. Another way of getting an effective amount of volume to then push you if you are more advanced, where you need to start increasing the amount of workload that you're doing to make progress or to keep making progress. Try incorporating the hex bar deadlift into your program. Okay, so let's talk about some some of the potential cons with this exercise. And I think the major one for it is the width position is set for you. I'm sure depending on what brand you buy or what size you buy, there might be different sizes, but the width position is going to be set for you. So for some people, this may be an issue because we're not all one size fits all. If you're taller or shorter or have longer arms or what, the width that you're going to want for your trap bar deadlift is going to be different for some people. So my best advice is, if you are going to buy one, if you can, see who else uses it, see what size fits for them, see if there's different sizes you can use. If they have access to different bars, pick one that feels right for you, because like I said, depending on how you're built, the width might be an issue for you, whether it's too wide or too small. The other thing that I'm going to be talking about, which is sort of a potential pro, is if you need to do the deadlift, this is not going to replace it. If you need to do the squat, this isn't going to replace it. Again, for the deadlift, you need to have that weight in front of you. So again, if you're a powerlifter, it's not going to be a replacement. It will help fill the gap if you don't have access to it. But if you need to deadlift, you need to deadlift. If you need to squat, you need to squat. Again, with the trap bar deadlift, you're not going down as deep. So the range of motion is deep. You're not sort of below parallel that you need for a squat. You don't go as deep. You can, because they come with two different handles. So again, a pro to it is they have different handle heights. So if you have more mobility or less, you can get the right height for you. And if you want to make it more difficult or get to a lower or a deeper range of motion, you can use the lower handle. You just do it by flipping it over. But again, that range of motion you're going to get in that squat position isn't going to be as much as you are going to get with the hex bar as you are compared to the typical squat. So if you're looking for that maximum work or something to do that squat, this one isn't going to fill that gap for you. So that's something that you want to pay attention to. So my question for you today is, have you used a trap bar? If you have, let me know why, what you thought of it and what your opinions of it. If you haven't, let me know why you haven't. Is it going to be something after watching this video is going to get you to start using one? Let me know down below. In a video, in the future, I will be doing a video on how to set up for it and maybe some of the different exercises you can do for it. But for now, make sure you subscribe for that so you get more content from that. But guys, I'll see you in the next video.